Well, hello, everybody. It's Thursday again, and I'm here for our weekly Global Missions Project interview. I'm sorry I missed y'all last week. We had another situation with me being out of town and everything for a conference, but I'm glad to be back here with you today. And we've got two great guys for you to have a chance to visit with today. And one is Kent Lilley, who is our the board chairman for Global Missions Project, and Bob Ray, who is another one of our board members. But both of them have traveled with GMP extensively as well. And so I want to bring them right on. And let me say this: Bob Ray is having a little bit of a technical issue with his internet, with the computer freezing a little bit and stuff like that. But we'll work around that today. So let me bring them on right now. And there they are. Hey, guys.
Hello, guys.
Hey.
It's good to see you today. And Kent, you wave. And there's Kent. Yeah, and then Bob, so that everybody knows who you are. And Bob is a good friend of mine. We attend church together here in Nashville at Judson Baptist Church. And Kent lives in the Atlanta area, North Atlanta. And so real quick, guys, let's just jump right into this. Kent, tell me just a little bit about where you're from originally.
Well, originally from North Texas, grew up in Wichita Falls, went to college in Wichita Falls, and then immediately after college moved to Minneapolis and spent spent 13 winters in Minneapolis, put it that way, before we moved to Atlanta. We've been in Atlanta about the last 23 years. So
now, okay, and that's cool. And I believe you got family in Houston as well. Is that correct?
We do. My mother and sister and brother live in Houston. And I have a brother here in the Atlanta area as well, too. So
I got you. Hey, Bob, tell me, where are you from originally?
I grew up in Nashville first 25 years of my life, and then we moved away for about 30 years, and then moved back about 22 years ago. So I was here, away, and back. Nashville's my home.
Okay. All right. And now, Kent, tell me this. When did both of you are musicians, and when did you first take an interest in music?
Oh, I started taking piano when I was about 5.5. My mother was a teacher, piano teacher. So she started teaching all of us kids at home when we got to about 5-6 years of age. So I started early and went a long time. So it was, some of my own liking, some not, as all kids go through, but I kind of worked through that. Mom pushed me through that, and it got to be where I got to be pretty good, and then it got to be a lot of fun. So, and I've enjoyed it. So I've played for a really, really long time now.
That's great. And Bob, Bob, you play trumpet.
Yes.
And when did you start playing trumpet? Not sure where he got connected there. He's frozen.
Lost you.
Okay. Hey, when did you start playing trumpet, Bob?
Oh, I started playing trumpet at junior high school, which was the 7th grade back then, and played through high school and continued playing around town in small bands and combos through my sophomore year in college. And let me say this, while I was in high school, I got my first taste of playing my horn in church when our minister of music at First Baptist Church in Nashville. It was Dr. Neil Darnell put together a trumpet quartet of 3 of the youth and himself and had us play for services and concerts with the youth choir. And I hope the people that work with youth choirs and orchestras realize what an impact they have on young lives, because I still remember Dr. Darnell and some of the songs that we played. But after my sophomore year in college, I put my horn down for roughly 35 years and then picked it up several years after we moved back to Nashville to play with the Judson Orchestra, with first David Winkler and then with you, Ken.
Now, how old were you when you picked your horn back up again?
Oh, gosh. I was probably in my late 50s, early 60s.
Mm-hmm. And how long did you say you had been? How long had you been off of the instrument?
It was it was 35 years. I would pick it up every now and then. Somebody would do something, and and I would bring it out for 3 or 4 weeks and go through some pain. But it was really about 35 years of just letting it sit around.
I just love that kind of testimony to see instrumentalists. I've had the experience for many years working with church instrumentalists, and seeing some of these players come back on their instruments after 10, 20, 30, sometimes 40 years. And it's like riding a bicycle. It does come back, and I love that. Kent, you've been involved in ministry also, right?
Right. Yeah, I had started kind of. I guess I was volunteered for ministry. I think when I was 17, my dad was a pastor, and he came home from church one Sunday, and we had lost our youth director and our music director at the time. There was no such thing as a worship pastor in those days. And so he comes home after church one Sunday morning, and he goes, "I want you to lead worship tonight. I want you to lead singing." That's what it was tonight at church. And I was like, okay. I started laughing. I said, "Yeah, I thought he was joking." Then I figured out he wasn't joking. He really wanted me to do it. I was like, I'm only 17. I was a senior in high school. So I led singing on Sunday night, and he comes home and he goes, "I want you to lead singing next Sunday morning." So I had 7 whole days to be nervous about doing that the next week. So, but I did, and I didn't hardly miss a week for the next 5.5 years as I finished off high school and went almost 5 years through college, and did that, and then began to explore my studies in college with a minor in music. Actually, I was pretty close to finishing my music degree, but continued doing worship ministries, and then I continued on kind of bivocationally for another 30 years after I got out of college, doing the same. So playing and singing and leading choirs and conducting and leading worship, and as things kind of progressed. So,
yeah, I've observed you serving in interim capacities and a variety of churches, and I'm just really proud of you for your consistency in your service and ministry. Now, Bob, your situation is a little different. You were in the sales corporate world for a while.
Yeah, I had about a 30-year career with a phone company, and then had a midlife crisis and took an early retirement, and then started a business with my cousin up here. Went on for about 16 or 17 years when the economy, our business crashed with it, and so I got my second retirement then.
And you were breaking up a little bit then. I know a little bit about that. You were in the lighting business, providing lighting, commercial lighting. I know that one of your top clients was the Ruby Tuesday restaurants, and I was with you here in Nashville when that cataclysmic implosion of our economy hit, and really was incredibly destructive to your lighting business during that time. But I'm so thankful that you are back and healthy and doing well. And I know now you're even working on some IT development for a variety of companies here and there. Well, I want to get on to GMP just a little bit. Kent is the chairman of our board of directors for Global Missions Project. Kent, how long have you been serving on the board with GMP?
Oh, going on, what is this? Probably 13 years, I think, maybe. So pretty close.
Yeah. And you've been the chairman now for several years.
Yeah. I think the last, right about the last 5, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Bob, how long have you been serving on the board with GMP?
Oh, goodness. It's 10 or 12 years. I hadn't even thought about that. I remember my first trip was 2005, and it wasn't too long after that we became a part of that.
Yeah, that's what happens. You go on a GMP trip and you get recruited for the board. Apparently that's the way it works.
That's right.
Now, both of you have been on a number of GMP projects, and I'm so thankful for that. I'm thankful that our board of directors is active in the missions aspect of what we do. Bob, do you know how many projects you have done?
Phyllis and I were trying to count it up, and it's 10 or 11 in that range, with hopefully a lot more to come.
I love that. Kent, how about you, buddy?
I think my last count was about 29. I think it was.
That's awesome. And I'm proud of both of you guys, and just love the fact that you do travel with us. And Bob is already thinking about a project this year, and Kent's already got a couple lined up for this year as well. And I think Bob is hoping to go with us to Guatemala at the end of the year. And Kent, I think you're thinking about Israel and possibly Sweden as well.
Yeah, correct.
Well, tell me this, guys. I'd like to hear just a little bit. I think the thing that makes Global Missions Project so one of the things that makes it so significant to me is the life-changing aspect of it. And it's not just the life-changing aspect of people that we meet that glean new things from the Lord, but the fact that we, as people who are going, glean new things from the Lord. I'd love just to ask each of you maybe to share a brief story from one of your projects that maybe meant a lot to you. Bob, could I ask you to do that first? I'm not sure. Kent, I'll go ahead and jump to you.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Sure. Oh man, there's been so many. It's hard to kind of narrow it to one. When you've had powerful opportunities to be able to share what God's doing around the world. I could probably point to a couple of the projects we've done in Russia here in the last 5 years that have been particularly meaningful and I think impactful as far as training worship leaders. And seeing what God's doing, in places where we sometimes think God may not be active at all. And it turns out God's highly active in every quadrant of the world in which we go, and a lot of times in ways we never even see. I remember, though, too, music has such power and power across generations and power across cultures and language barriers. One of the early projects we took, right as GMP was just getting, right before it got started, I was in Argentina on a project, and I remember sitting in Mendoza one night. We were doing a concert in a church, and the orchestra was playing, and we had this full capacity crowd that probably was 250, 300 people, maybe, these Argentinians that were there to hear the orchestra. And we were playing the Old Rugged Cross. And the version we were playing, the arrangement we played was kind of bombastic and kind of choppy and big and loud at the very beginning. And then all of a sudden it comes to a big conclusion and it goes down to very soft, very quiet in the middle. And then a flute solo comes in playing the melody of the Old Rugged Cross, the old hymn. And it translated across those cultures because all of a sudden it gets soft and I'm playing the keyboards. My wife was playing the flute solo as it started through that whole little piece right there. And all of a sudden across this crowd, you hear this crowd slowly begin to build as they all begin to hum the melody and then slowly started to begin to sing the words because they knew the song and they heard it, and the melody just kind of transcended all of what was going on because the gospel had been preached and had been shown and they were familiar with it, and they began to then worship in their own heart language, along with what the orchestra was playing. And so I think the power of being able to bridge, across there with music was just, evident, in a grand way, that evening.
We've seen a few occasions where it was similar to that, but you first of all, you kind of sense it, and all of a sudden the connection happens. Yep. It's there. And yep. I love to see that happen. And so Bob, do you have a story you'd like to share with us?
Well, there's a couple of times that I just really got impressed and interested. And both of them had kind of the same theme to it. I went on a mission trip. I was wanting to bless other people, and I got blessed myself. The first one of those was that 2006 trip to Russia, where we took a big bunch of people. And the final night, we had a concert in a big setting. And as we were playing, one of the local young man came down front. I didn't see this except on a video later, and was raising his hands in worship, and then got escorted out by security. And it just I didn't see it at the time, but as I saw it in the video, it just kind of stunned me that those people were so eager to worship and so hungry for worship, they were willing to take any kind of a risk to do it. And then on a trip to Brazil that we took, it happened right about the time a lot of calamities were happening in my life, when we had to shut down the company. And within about an 18-month time frame, my mother passed away, and we even had to put our family dog down during that time. And it was just, I was kind of feeling stressed. And you asked me to give my testimony, and I did. And that was part of my testimony, was that God had kind of been there with me through all of that. And afterwards, one of the guys that could speak English caught me and said that one of their elders wanted to pray with me. So he prayed this prayer, and I didn't understand a word that he said, but I could feel the Holy Spirit just bringing peace into my life. And anyway, it was those times are such binding times, and it was like Kent was saying. It reminded me of Blackaby's experiencing God. God is always at work around you. Mm-hmm. And that's anywhere you want to go. God's still at work. And then the interesting part of that to me for GMP is I think it was his third reality, that God invites you to join him in his work. And so when we see him moving in all of these areas around the world, the fact that he's opened up that to us to see is an invitation to us to come and be a part of that. And that's one of the things that's just been a blessing to me about GMP is I can be a part of God's work all around the world and do something that just brings blessings into my life.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And, whenever I hear these testimonies shared by the people that I've had the opportunity to interview on these Thursdays, it resounds with me because I've experienced all of that. And I just love to be refreshed with that. So thank you so much, both of you guys, for sharing those moments. Well, our time's about up here, guys. I'd like to ask you if you have a word that you'd like to share with any of our folks that are tuned in and watching us today, or those that will watch after the fact. Kent, anything in particular you'd like to say, words of encouragement?
Yeah, I do. I always tell people when they ask me that, what do you think is most important? I think, for us as believers, I always tell people I think there's two significant things that we as believers need to do that will help us in our walk with Christ. And number one is, if you're at all able, is to make a trip to Israel and go to the Holy Land, to go walk the land where Jesus walked, see the sights, see the places where the gospel was originally shared, where God created the place where his people were to be, the place where he's going to return to, but go be a part of where it all started, because it will change the way you read your Bible. It'll change the way you see what God's work is, in the world, and it will absolutely revolutionize your world. It'll take your Bible from black and white to putting it in HD when you read it, to go there. And the second thing I always try to encourage people to do is, as soon as you're able, get out of the country and go on a mission project somewhere outside of the United States, somewhere outside your normal domain, to go see what God's doing in other parts of the world, because it will challenge you and it will change your life in magnificent ways to see that God is active all over the world. We tend to have a myopic view of ourselves here in the U.S. and thinking that, Christianity is an American thing. Christianity is not an American thing. It's a God thing. And God's active all over the world, all over the planet, and you will be blown away to see what God's doing in other places of the world that we don't get to see on a normal basis. But you won't see it until you go, and it'll change your life.
Amen. I love that. How about you, Bob?
Well,
last words.
Yeah, much the same. It's go ahead, if you haven't done it, go ahead and take the first step to get on one of these trips and be a part of seeing what God's doing. And it is kind of eye-opening the first time you see that not only other and what they bring into your life, but the fact that God's busy in all of these places. We don't have this all to ourselves. It's like Ken was saying that God's at work all around the world, and I would encourage people to pray first and ask God, where He wants them to go, what He wants them to do, when He wants them to do it. He'll answer that prayer, and then be ready. When He gives you an answer and invites you to join Him in His work, take Him up on it.
Yep.
I love it. I love it. And one of my favorite quotes. It's actually me quoting me, by the way, is that one of our trumpet players who travels with us frequently and is a wonderful believer. He's a Gideon, but also a fabulous musician as well. His name is Alan Suska, and I had been encouraging Alan to travel with us on a GMP mission trip for actually several years. And he said, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. And I really want to do that. I really do. And I said, well, the reason you haven't is you just haven't made it a priority. And Alan's, he quotes that back and forth. He said he was exactly right. I had not made it a priority. So for any of you that are out there thinking about going on a project, make it a priority and jump on board with us and come along with us. Look at our projects that are on the globalmissionsproject.com website and jump on board with us on a project in the near future. We're hoping and we're praying that our last 6 projects of this year, starting in August, are going to happen. And so go to globalmissionsproject.com and check those out and see what you might be able to do to jump on board with us. Well, I want to encourage you to come back and be with us next week on Thursday, when we're going to be announcing a brand new mission partnership that these 2 gentlemen that I'm talking to don't even know what it is yet. And you're going to have an opportunity to hear from these missionaries in this new location for us and to hear the incredible work that they have been doing there. And I'm not even going to tell you how long it's been, but it's been a long time that they've been there serving the Lord and doing great things focused on Him and on God and His ministry. So anyway, thank you all for being here today. And Kent and Bob, thank you. And to all of our GMP folks, we'll hopefully are going to see you next week. So God bless you all, and we'll see you soon.
Good night.